Imagine a vast, sun-baked desert. Endless sand stretching to the horizon dotted with thorny acacia trees, where survival itself is a daily battle. In this unforgiving landscape, a lone figure walks, defying not just the elements, but the might of the world's greatest empire. He had no modern army, no vast treasury, and no foreign allies, only faith, the power of his words, and an unbreakable will that could not be bought or broken. His strength came from within, and from the people who believed in his cause. This man was Muhammad Abdullah Hassan, a name whispered with both fear and reverence. For 20 years he was the ghost the British Empire could not catch, slipping through their grasp like a shadow at dusk. The British called him the Mad Mullah, dismissing him as a fanatic. But to his people, he was a Sayyid, a descendant of the Prophet, a poet whose verses stirred hearts, a warrior who fought for dignity, and a dreamer who imagined a free Somalia. He watched as his homeland was carved up by foreign powers, lines drawn on maps with no regard for the people or their history. Refusing to accept this fate, he chose to resist, igniting a fire of rebellion that would burn for decades and inspire generations. Hassan's struggle was not just about winning battles, it was about the power of an idea. One person's vision awakening a nation, urging them to find their voice and reclaim their destiny. He mastered guerrilla tactics, using the harsh Somali landscape as his shield and sword. The desert, with its endless hiding places and treacherous terrain, became his greatest ally against the invaders. His war was fought not just with weapons, but with hearts and minds. He united clans, forged alliances, and inspired loyalty through his words and his unwavering resolve. How did he manage to defy the British for so long? What gave him such enduring strength? To truly understand, we must journey back to the land, the faith, and the traditions that shaped him into a legend. This is the story of the Desert Phantom, the man whose legacy still echoes beneath the vast Somali sky, inspiring those who dream of freedom. Let's begin where it all started, at the edge of the desert, where hope and resistance were born. Before he was a warrior, before his name echoed across the Horn of Africa, Muhammad Abdullah Hassan was simply a boy of the Somali plains, shaped by the endless horizon and the whispering winds of his homeland. He was born around 1856 in the Ogaden, a region where survival depended on both strength and wisdom, and where every day was a lesson in endurance. His childhood unfolded beneath the relentless sun, where the desert taught him resilience, patience, and a profound connection to the land that would never leave him. From a young age, he learned to read the stars to guide his way, to listen to the winds for signs of change, and to recite the Quran, absorbing lessons of justice, faith, and duty that would shape his destiny. Life in a Somali clan was built on community and survival. Every meal, every story, every debate was shared. Poetry and spirited discussion were as vital as water, binding people together through hardship and joy. In this world, a well-crafted poem could ignite a war or bring lasting peace. Hassan quickly mastered this powerful art, his words carrying weight far beyond his years. As he grew, his thirst for knowledge led him to travel widely, seeking wisdom from respected scholars. He immersed himself in Islamic law, theology, and the mystical teachings of Sufism, always searching for deeper meaning. These journeys opened his eyes to the divisions and rivalries among Somali clans, and to the vulnerability of his people in the face of growing foreign threats. He saw a proud and ancient land, but one lacking unity, a nation at risk as foreign powers loomed ever closer, threatening to reshape their world. In these formative years, the seeds of his future resistance were quietly sown, nurtured by every hardship and every lesson learned beneath the vast Somali sky. Muhammad Abdullah Hassan was becoming the leader his people would one day look to for hope, unity, and defiance. In the late 19th century, the scramble for Africa began, Europe's empires carving up the continent for resources and power. Somalia's strategic coastline drew Britain, France, and Italy, who divided the land with lines on maps, ignoring ancient clan territories. For Somalis, this was a shock. Their world, governed by tradition and Islamic law, was upended. Colonial powers signed treaties with some clans, pitting Somalis against each other. New borders disrupted nomadic life, causing conflict and hardship. Colonial administrators imposed foreign laws and taxes, disregarding Somali culture. Missionaries arrived, threatening faith and identity. Injustice and resentment grew. Hassan witnessed British flags over Somali towns, his people treated as outsiders in their own land. The fragmentation of his homeland and the threat to his faith became personal. Survival was at stake. Hassan felt compelled to act. In 1894, seeking spiritual fulfillment and answers to the turmoil in his homeland, Hassan embarked on a life-changing journey to Mecca for the Hajj. This sacred pilgrimage would become a profound turning point in his life, shaping his beliefs and future actions in ways he could not yet imagine. In the holy city, Hassan found himself surrounded by Muslims from every corner of the world. He listened intently as pilgrims shared stories of their struggles, many of them recounting tales of resistance against colonial oppression and foreign domination. Through these encounters, Hassan came to a powerful realization. Somalia's struggle for freedom was not isolated, but part of a much larger, global pattern of resistance and yearning for justice. Drawn to the teachings of the Salihiyya Sufi order, Hassan embraced a strict reformist vision of Islam. He immersed himself in prayer and reflection, returning home with a renewed sense of purpose and a burning mission to transform his society. Back in Berbera, Hassan became a passionate preacher. He spoke out forcefully against what he saw as moral decay among his people, and above all, condemned the growing presence of Christian colonizers who threatened Somali traditions and faith. With unwavering conviction, he declared that true faith and dignity could not survive under foreign rule, urging his listeners to reclaim their spiritual and national identity. His call for jihad, both spiritual renewal and physical resistance, struck a deep chord with Somalis from all walks of life, inspiring hope and determination. The British authorities quickly recognized the threat he posed. While they saw him as a dangerous agitator, Somalis saw in Hassan a powerful voice for their pride, pain, and collective anger. His sermons brought together the wounded and the restless, uniting them under a common cause and shared vision for the future. In the hearts of his followers, the seeds of rebellion and hope began to take root, promising change even in the harshest conditions. Hassan was no longer just a scholar or a preacher. He had become a leader with a divine calling, a symbol of resistance and faith for his people. The stage was now set for open resistance, as Hassan and his followers prepared to challenge colonial power and fight for their land and beliefs. In 1899, Hassan and his followers, the dervishes, declared war on the colonial powers, retreating into the Nugal Valley. Here he united Somali clans under Islam and resistance, breaking old rivalries. The British underestimated him, sending expeditions that failed to capture the elusive Mad Mullah. Hassan's fighters mastered guerrilla tactics, striking swiftly and vanishing into the desert. The British launched 4 major campaigns, suffering humiliating defeats at Gumbaru and Daratola. Dervish victories inspired more clans to join. Hassan's poetry became his propaganda, spreading news, mocking enemies and rallying support. His words were as powerful as his weapons. Poems praised bravery, shamed collaborators, and made the dervish struggle a national cause. The dervish movement grew, fueled by faith in the dream of a free Somalia. The British faced not just an army but a people united by an idea. The desert became a battlefield of hearts and minds. The storm of resistance raged on. The dervish state was more than an army. It was a mobile nation united by Hassan's vision. He broke down clan divisions, enforcing unity through Islamic law. Women played vital roles, managing camps, tending the wounded, gathering intelligence, and even fighting. Hassan's wife, Tuyar Sheikh Adan, was a trusted advisor. The resilience of dervish women was the backbone of the movement. Hassan showed mercy to enemies, as in his poem honoring the fallen British officer Richard Corfield. His poetry reflected on war, fate, and courage, humanizing both sides. He used letters and poems to debate, demand, and mock the British, revealing his intellect and confidence. To the British, he was a sophisticated adversary, not a fanatic. Hassan fought with ideas as much as with arms. The dervish cause became a movement of unity and pride. By 1913, Hassan sought permanence, building stone forts in the Nugal Valley, the grandest at Taleh. Taleh became the dervish capital, a symbol of defiance and hope for a stable Somali state. The fortress stood strong for years, governing territory and resisting British attacks. World War I gave Hassan a brief respite, but after the war, the British returned with new resolve. In 1920, they unleashed a new weapon, the airplane. RAF planes bombed Taleh, shocking the dervishes and breaking the myth of invincibility. Hassan narrowly escaped as bombs destroyed his quarters. The aerial assault scattered and demoralized the dervish forces. The great fortress was abandoned, the dervish state was crumbling, The age of the desert phantom was ending. The British had finally found a way to break the stalemate. The dream of a united, independent Somalia faced its darkest hour. The fall of Talay marked the end for the dervish movement. Hunted from the air and ground, Hassan became a fugitive, leading a dwindling band into the Ogaden. The cost of 20 years of war was immense: devastation, famine, and loss. The British consolidated control, but at a high price. In late 1920, Hassan fell ill, some say influenza, others malaria, and died in exile. He was buried in an unmarked grave, his movement collapsing without his leadership. Yet his impact endured. He united Somalis under a national identity, proving resistance was possible. His story and poems became a source of pride and inspiration. For the British, his defeat was a victory. For Somalis, his life was a legend. The Lion of Somalia was gone, but his spirit remained. The struggle for freedom would continue. What is the final lesson of Muhammad Abdullah Hassan's struggle? True power comes from conviction, not armies. Though his state was destroyed, his legacy endures. He gave his people unity, pride, and a story of resistance. His fight resonates beyond Somalia, a universal tale of standing against oppression. Sometimes the most powerful weapon is a poem, the greatest fortress, an unshakable belief. Hassan was a pioneer of anti-colonial struggle, inspiring future independence movements. Today, Somalia faces challenges, but his spirit endures. He is remembered as the father of Somali nationalism, not the mad mullah. His poems are taught, his story told, a lesson in courage and unity. The British won the battle, but Hassan won the future. True leadership is about lighting a fire that burns long after you're gone. His legacy lives on, carried by the desert wind.